it's Jenny. It's wrap-up time yet again. This time it's for April of 2015. As I said, it's time to wrap up my reading in April. The thing is, I only read 3 books, and seeing that it was only 3 books, I think that this will be the only time I talk about them. I won't be doing separate reviews for 2 of them because it's only 2 of them who exist in English. So the first book I picked up was Mitch Albom's The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. This book tells the story about Eddie. He turns 83 on this day that the book takes place. He works at an amusement park at Ruby Pier, somewhere in the US. Don't remember exactly where. He is responsible for servicing the rides and making sure that they are safe, and there is an accident and he dies, actually. Hence the title, The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. He is the person who goes to heaven, and he meets 5 people there. 5 people who somehow has a connection to his life, directly or indirectly, that he has met, or maybe he hasn't met them, but they have impacted his life somehow. So yeah, I think that was a very short, for once, what's it called? Summary of the plot. Let's see. So I read this one in Swedish, a Swedish translation, as a review copy from a publishing company. I really loved the cover. That's a plus for the book. On the other hand, I really didn't like this book. I only gave it 1 star because several times I thought about DNFing it, don't finishing it, because it was so boring. It's only 220 something pages. I think it's actually 220 pages exactly. So it's not a long book, and it's rather easy reading on the pages. There are not too much text on the pages. So it should have been a quick and easy read, but this book took me several weeks to read. One reason is that I started a new job, and all of a sudden I didn't have the reading time that I was used to. So yeah, that was one cause, but one reason for me reading this several weeks. But at the same time, this book was so boring that it took me so long to get through it. It didn't capture me. It didn't draw me in as I want books to do, to like them. It sort of has wants to teach you that people, at the end, that people affect your life whether or not you know it or you don't. So yeah, it's sort of, no, it was not a book for me. Let's see. For some reason I thought that this book would be a funny book. So that was the expectations I had on this book going into it. This was not a funny book in the manner I thought it would be. So that sort of marked down the rating for this book. I don't have that much more to say about it. I didn't like it, but it is for people who, yeah, what can I say? it's quick read if you like books where not much happens. But at the same time, I'm that person who likes books where not much happens, and I like books where much happens. But this was, somehow it didn't draw me in, and that's the big disappointment and the big reason why I only marked it as 1 star. So yeah, there you have it. The Five People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom, 1 star on Goodreads. It was a book that takes place in the US by a US author. So not that much diversity there. Then I came up with the idea to listen to an audiobook in the car from work. To work, I listen to the radio because I don't have time to unplug the phone when I get to work. I want to get to work as soon as possible. So I listened to the audiobook on the way home instead. It was a rather short audiobook. I think it was 4 hours and 30 minutes or something like that, 4.5 hours. It was Lighthouse Keeping by Jeanette Winterson. I listened to it in the Swedish translation, and I loved the narrator. I usually don't like that narrator in other circumstances and occasions, but for this book she was perfect. So that made the story so much better, I think. So let's see. The story in Lighthouse Keeping by Jeanette Winterson is about a girl, I think, who's called Silver. She is orphaned at the age of 10, and the lighthouse keeper Pew in Salt, where they live, take her in and take care of her. These two, but mostly Pew, the lighthouse keeper, tells stories to each other about mostly these are stories from the past. Somehow these stories makes the frame story, the story of Silver, move forward. The reader gets to know Silver's story through the small stories told in the frame story, and the story of Silver's story, Silver's life story, that is rather odd. That much I can say. This book and story is very odd. At times I wasn't always following the story. It was a bit confusing, but still I liked that. I liked the confusion. That made it sort of made the story almost better, the confusion, that is. And I loved the language used in this story, at least in the Swedish translation, but I do think that Jeanette Winterson might be using that kind of beautiful language in the original as well. Let's see. Yeah, I liked the narrator. She was awesome as a narrator for this story. The stories within the story are rather simple stories. They tell the stories about relatively normal people. There is nothing supernatural or anything like that, which makes the story rather rather interesting actually, and I really like that. These simple stories about rather normal or everyday people sort of felt like anecdotes about of their lives, and that was and these anecdotes, by the way, are somehow connected, or are being connected through the frame story. Yeah, that was very a very chaotic review of that book. This book, Lighthouse Keeping by Janet Winterson. It's a British author who wrote a book that takes place mostly in Britain, so it was interesting, and I really recommend it. I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads. Yeah, then my 3rd book this month in April of 2015 is a Swedish book. It's Uprising by Magnus Nordin. It's the 4th book in the series called The Creatures. Let's see, it's supposed to be the last one in this series, and it was brilliant as the other 3 books. This book is a book for people, or rather children between the age of 12 and 15. So it's a YA, no, it's a tween book. Let's see, I gave it 4 stars, sorry, on Goodreads. The frame story is that there has been an outbreak on Gotland in Sweden, an island, and the outbreak made the people there dead guys, sort of, or rather zombies, and there are some survivors. The story follows mostly Emma, who in the 1st book she's with her brother, who then disappears. Then she meets other people, and she finds a guy called Sebbe, and they fall in love, and that's the 2 that the last 3 follows, the books, that is. And in this one there is this is supposed to be the resolvement, or the final book, as I said, in the installment, so there needs to be some resolutions or resolvement to the frame story. And I would say that no, it's not. Not as much as the reader wants to, or at least that I want to. It's a rather open ending, and I actually like that after thinking about it, because it gives the reader the opportunity to think up or put in whatever he or she wants to into this story, this ending. You can believe that all went well at the end, or all went to hell at the end, or it's an open ending, as I said. I really like it, and it's yeah, I don't know much more what else I should say about it, because unfortunately it's not only in English, in Swedish. It's a illustrated book, actually. I would say it's a graphic novel. The illustrations are rather cool. Oh shit. It's a library book, so it's okay. Yeah, so that was Uprising, the 4th book in the Creatures series by Magnus Nordin. That was all the books I read. 3 books in total, 2 physical and 1 audiobook as an MP3 book. So yeah, I don't have much more to say. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video.